Hi everyone, Jody Mueller here, and I'm sorry I'm a little late on this. I promised I would do a video, and I was going to do it on Facebook Live, but I'm kind of hoping that my children see this someday. So I don't know if they'll see it the other way because kids don't use Facebook a lot. But I wanted more people out in the public to see it that maybe weren't in my group. And if you weren't and you haven't heard my story, it's been a horrific journey like no other, being alienated from my 4 children. And I have videos from over 3.5 to 4 years ago, I believe. If you go back, you can, if you want to listen to all that, you can. If you're alienated yourself, you probably don't want to be triggered and may not want to do that. So what I want to share today, because I'm getting so many requests for this, is how I was reunited with my twins out of the 4 children. Now, I want to start this by saying I wouldn't even call this being reunited, because if you're an alienated parent and you've seen your children just a little bit, you will know that it could go back and forth, back and forth. So I want to believe that this is final and that I'm, reunited for good, but I'm not going to get my hopes that high yet. I'm praying that's what's happening, but I've still got my guard up and still waiting for the other shoe to drop, unfortunately. But nonetheless, I'm going to explain what happened with me and how I got to where I was last week. Okay, so I hope it helps, some of you. And all kids are different, and all parents are different. So what I'm telling you worked for me may not work for you, but I'm hoping maybe it'll strike something in you, possibly, that could help reunite you with your children, because if any one of you know me, you know that I want everyone to be in the lives of their children, unless they've abused them, in some way. And I still don't believe that alienators should have 50-50. So if you're angry about that, you could stop the video now, but I don't believe they should have 50-50. Unless it's supervised or something, or they get some help. Okay, so let me start with, I've got 10 reasons, 10 things that I think, my children never said this is why, but this is what I believe led me to see my children last week. And my child, Kylie, joined the National Guard. She said it was to get free college. Of course, all these children should probably do this, because a lot of us parents have spent so much in litigation, a lot of us aren't going to be able to provide college for our children. We just provided college for the lawyers' children, right? So the second reason I think Kylie joined, and I really, truly believe this in my heart, is to stop being in the middle of this mental abuse and stop being walked on. And I am 99.9% positive that's the biggest reason she joined. I overheard her talking to her sister and said that she used to get walked on prior to joining the Army National Guard, and she said once I walked through that smoke, on Family Day, she had her shoulders up high, her head held high, and she says that's not going to happen any longer. So I have to believe that's about the situation she was in, and she came out polite. When she did get a little snippy, just one little time with me, she immediately apologized and said she was sorry, and that was unprecedented for these last 3.5 years. That would not have happened without the military. No way would that have happened. And probably with the letters that I've sent her as well. So I did get 4 letters from her after she got in. She's been in for 10 weeks in boot camp, and I got 4 letters in 10 weeks. That was unbelievable. And so if she's watching, I just want to thank her, because I will save those forever, just like I have all the other letters, from their childhood. But those were the most important I think I've ever received in my life. And each one progressively got better. And when I wrote her back, I wrote her, I think, 6 or 7 times. And I sent her little care packages that they could receive, Kleenex, Icy Hot, cough drops, some things she'd asked for and some things she didn't, but I looked on their site to see what they could receive. And she thanked me and said she never thought in a million years that she'd be so thankful to see Icy Hot. And if you ever go to Fort Jackson, you'll know why. I mean, it's miserable. Oh my gosh. And she's my hero. It is so miserable hot there. And to see what she had gone through, yeah, she probably did enjoy the ice yet. So, okay, so I'll move on. Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so the 10 things that I think were the most important. Number 1, and please don't take this wrong if you don't believe, but I have to believe the main reason was God. And I was not raised in church. I promise you, I was not raised in church. But I've been to church more times since all 4 of my children have been taken from me by my ex-spouse. Again, those of you that are watching that don't know, I did not have a CPS case. He tried, but that was debunked immediately. Okay, so all 4 of mine were taken from my ex-spouse, 2 at a time, 2 years apart. So the first thing, like I said, was God. I prayed without ceasing. And I had prayer warriors praying without ceasing, I believe. And a lot of them were in the alienation groups. I have a really good friend, 2 friends, one in Iowa and Lisa, and one in Texas, Meiji, that I know never stopped praying for me, for my children, and I believe they even sometimes prayed for my ex to have a heart of flesh and not a heart of stone. And so having prayer warriors, is a good thing. You don't have to believe in God, but you know what? It doesn't hurt to pray. It made me feel good, and whether you believe or not, it worked. So I'm putting that first because that's where it needs to be. All right, number 2, I started a Walk It Off campaign. I was tired of feeling like crap physically, mentally. And so when I ever started going down a bad road, thinking I was never going to see my children again, which still makes me upset when I have to think about that. So when I did, I would start walking it off. And kind of like the Shake It Off video of Taylor Swift, right? So I did the Walk It Off. It can't hurt. It helped. I was feeling better about myself. I was getting tan. I lost some weight. I still have many pounds to go because all of this is from this stress. I know. And hopefully someday I'll be on this video and be like a skinny little model, or at least back to where I was, right, before this happened. So no haters. Okay. But the Walk It Off, if you do hashtag Walk It Off, you can see probably where that started. And a lot of people joined in. I know Wendy Perry did. I know Vinit Mansakani did it. And so whenever we felt like, or we were having a bad day or thinking bad thoughts, we started walking it off. All right. And I started taking care of me. I used to think that was crazy when people would say that to me. And now I get it. Those of you that have been in it as long as I have these years, your physical health gets affected, your mental health, your finances are in ruins, so that's affecting you as well. I can tell you it ruined my whole mouth. I've had problems with dental problems. I've had Bell's palsy. That's why when you see me in the video, this eye looks smaller. And sometimes in pictures, you'll see me looking surprised. And that's because I want to open my eye. All right? And so I had to spend thousands and thousands of dollars of medical care, grief counselors, acupuncture for the Bell's palsy. My mouth was down here. This eyebrow was way up here on my hairline. This eye wouldn't open, this eye wouldn't shut. This eye wouldn't close. It was a mess. Now that was back when my first two were taken, so it still affects me to this day. It harmed my taste buds, so now I have to almost eat spicy food to be able to taste it. But anyway, on the physical side, the Walk It Off has been great. That helped me to be positive. I listened to positive music while I was walking, or I was praying, or I kept saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You just keep saying that as you're walking. And it actually got me to the high school graduation in May of this year. And if you saw the pictures, I was smiling, I was tan, and all that. And so that helped me get there. And I continued to do it up until this graduation. You know, whenever I felt bad, I went and did something. I don't care if it's walking in a mall, walking your dog, whatever you can do. Just don't sit and wallow in this pain, because it's not getting you anywhere, and it's definitely not getting your kids back in your life. Okay, number 3, I stopped the court. People have thought I meant I'm stopping, trying to see my children. That's not the case. I just got another note today. How did you get your kids back in your life? You said you weren't going to fight. That's not true. I kept the fight up in my own way, but it definitely wasn't going to be in the courts, because the courts, they don't care about our children. They don't care about us. They don't care about the pain. They don't care if we ever see our kids again, and they don't care if our kids end their lives or if we end our lives. They really simply don't care. It's all about the money, and we all know this, right? We all know, if you've been in this long enough, about the Title 4D, if you're in family court, if you've been affected because you went into court and said, my ex has been an absent father. That's what I did. And when that happens and you say that, they get money from the Obama Fatherhood Initiative to give absent fathers or abusive fathers custody. So I would say try not to say that, because that's probably why I didn't see my children. They got money for giving this absent father so illegal. And the good fathers should be angry about that initiative as well. Because why are the bad people getting custody? And I know bad moms are getting them too. So you might want to look into that as well. Because when I say I'm against that, that doesn't mean I'm against fathers. I'm just against that initiative. And I know for a fact in Iowa, there's judges that are making good fathers actually take classes and paying for them about parenting. Okay, these are fathers that don't need to take the classes, all right? But then my ex, who needs the classes, that was never a part of these children's lives other than 30 to 40 days in 15 years, he needed the classes and still does to this day. All right, so that was number 3, stopping the court. It's a no-win situation. And also one of my children asked me to, my son. I was reluctant to do so because I was just fighting for these kids, so hard, and I'd spent so much money, and I was pro se, after I'd spent all that money, $120,000 plus, and then I was pro se for a year, and it was taking a toll on me physically, mentally, and I didn't just stop cold turkey before I told the judges off. If you know me, you'll know that I'm going to do that. I wrote to every one of those judges. I not only wrote to my judges in their email, I wrote to all the judges in the district they're in and told them, I sent a judicial notice and told them that I'm not stopping. I'm just stopping their games, and that they've attempted to ruin my life, but that I was going to have these kids in my life sometime, and I was going to prove them all wrong. And I would tell you that after my twins graduated in May, I did prove Mr. Judge Paul Husher wrong, and I sent him a picture of them kissing me and asked him how he thought that was possible, since he said they adamantly hated my guts. He put in his resignation 7 days later. Judge Greg Holz, who did it to my older 2 children, I kept doing the same to him, and he retired a year early. Paul Husher was not set to retire, and he did so. So I've removed, I guess by proxy somehow, these 2 judges that were the worst in my case. I've had 10, so I'm not done yet. All right. So I would just say stop the court. Now that's number 3. No-win situation. Like I said, kids asked me to, and I'll go back through this real quick. Now, I'm not saying this might not work for you, and you might not want to stop the court, and that's totally up to you. My advice would be to at least get rid of the lawyer. You can get more evidence in your court documents or in your court hearing without a lawyer. Trust me. Okay, so number 4, I stopped blaming myself. I stopped blaming myself for why my kids were gone. I did nothing wrong. My story has never changed. And so be true to yourself. If you're true to yourself, you're telling the facts, you're telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about. You don't have to change your story because you have not lied. And I have not once lied about my case. Not once. My case, when I talk about it, has never changed. Whether I'm talking to someone on the street, talking to someone in my alienation group, or talking to legislators, I've never changed my story. So be true to yourself. Don't blame yourself for this. This is strictly because of a narcissistic or pathogenic parent that did this, and they're out for revenge for some reason, whether you just left them or they want to get you back because you're dating someone, or they just enjoy your pain like mine did. Okay, I've been divorced from him for 18 years. He enjoyed watching me in pain. So don't blame yourself. It has nothing to do with you. All right. Parenting, again, stop blaming yourself. I was blaming myself, like, why did I take their phones away? Why did I ground them from their phones? Because 4 days later they were gone. Well, that's parenting. And I would tell you that when I was out in South Carolina, and I asked those girls, do you think it's abusive for the military to take your phones? And they said no. And so I just looked at them and went, do you think it was abusive for me to take your phone? And they said no. So they had a little aha moment there. So don't blame yourself for your parenting. We're allowed to parent. Okay. And kids actually like boundaries. She loved this military. She said it was hard, but she loved it. Okay. They love boundaries. And these narcissists are not giving them any boundaries. And so they may think they love it at first, but I don't believe they really do. They just love the attention and what they're getting because kids are egocentric. That's it. All right, number 5. I just loved on all of them, on all 4. Even if they were calling me names, even if they were saying to stop calling them, I never stopped. I didn't harass them. I would maybe just, send a message about every 4 weeks. I love you, I'm thinking about you, and I'm always here if you need me. I was sending them the same, and then I started saying, well, they're different children, so I started, individualizing it. All right, and one of them I still don't have contact with, the oldest one, at all, but I did send gifts to her. I Googled her, I found her college, and I sent her Halloween candy at Halloween last year. I haven't heard back yet, and I sent another one just last week. Still haven't heard back. It's okay. As long as that gift didn't come back to me, I know that she's got it in her hands. So don't worry if it gets there and you don't hear back. You just keep doing what you're doing. Also, little mementos, if you send them, maybe something they left behind, if you can just take a picture of it and you send it to them so they have it in their hand, might work. Kids love pictures of themselves. They're, like I said, egocentric. I learned a little bit more about that just 2 weeks ago at a meeting with a lot of psychologists. I was invited to this meeting, and Dr. Brian Dixon was amazing, and he backed up what I was saying. These kids are egocentric. They believe that the problems in a divorce or the fighting between the mom and dad later is all their fault. They believe if we might have yelled at them, it's all their fault, or if we're having a bad day, it's all their fault. Well, if we yelled at them, might be a good reason, when they're teenagers and they're not picking up after themselves or whatever. I don't know. But I do know that they're egocentric, and all kids are, and they like pictures of themselves, especially girls. Girls love to see pictures of themselves, like when they're little girls. But if you can find funny things, you know, boys would like this too. Depends on their age, I guess. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just going by what my kids like and what I've heard other children like. So funny pictures, if you come across, and you don't even have to wait till you come across it. Just go find it. Something funny, like right now it's almost Halloween. Find a Halloween picture of you and your child together, or Halloween, their first Halloween, or, you know, something funny that happened on Halloween. And, you know, I had, for instance, my son he's very claustrophobic like I am, so he made me cut out the eyes on his Hulk mask, and then he was still bawling. You know, he was 4 or 5 in that mask and bawled the whole time. So, you know, if he heard that story now, he would probably think that was ridiculous and laugh about it. So things like that, I think kids like to hear. Number 6, I let them know I was not mad at them. My children got on a plane in the middle of the night, left in the middle of the night. It was traumatizing. When I got home from work, the other 2 left with their father from the back door of the school without my knowledge. I didn't even know he was in town. So I've let them all know, whether it's a text or even to their face if I could see them, I'm not mad at them. You know, I'm never going to forget. That's for sure. I will never forget that trauma. But I just let them know I'm not angry with them. Let them know even if you are. Okay, if you're angry with them, just tell them that you're not, I guess. Do a little white lie if you have to. You may not appreciate what I'm saying here, but do whatever it takes, right? I also let them know that I didn't hate their father. My children always think, you know, I hate their father. Well, that's coming from their father. Of course I'm angry with what he did, but he couldn't have done what he did without the help of the courts and the lawyers and the fraud upon the court and the guardian ad litems. He couldn't have managed to do this. And narcs usually give up. Usually, if they lose, they go on to their different target. But mine is relentless, you know, and some of you have one just like him. But I let my kids know, and it was important for them to know that I didn't hate him. And I just said I felt sorry for him that he had to feel like he had to buy the kids off and felt like he had to, you know, be on this revenge obsession against me because they lost a mother and they actually lost a father in this, because he can't be a good father to them when all he's doing is trying to attack me the whole time. That's all he's thinking about. He's not thinking about how these kids are developing, you know, what they're doing day to day. He was sitting in his bedroom. They've all told me that. He sits in his bedroom all day. What is he doing? Contemplating the next, you know, attack on their mother. So they really lost both parents. This is ridiculous. So these judges, if any of them are listening, you not only take, you know, one parent away from these children when you're doing this and you're not getting yourself educated, you're taking both parents, even if you give those kids to only one parent. So I hope you know that. I know you don't care if you're a judge, but I'm letting you know that anyway. Because they do allow this, and this is awful. Number 7, stop depending on others to fix it. They can't do it, they probably won't do it. I've tried and tried to get help with different things, and I finally just had to say, the hell with it. These are my kids. You have to fight for your own kids, whether it's writing an affidavit, keeping a timeline, keep a journal. I would keep a journal of every time you try to reach out to your child, anytime you get feedback from them. Do not ever use the phone to contact a narcissist. Don't ever do that. You use an email, certified mail, whatever it is, to contact them so you can keep track of that. If you do happen to use a phone, you better have a recording device on there, because they do twist and turn things, okay? But stop depending on others to fix this. Stop calling people and saying, you know, crying and saying, you know, I need you to help me. Well, you need to help yourself also, because we're all in this, going through this pain as well. And sometimes it triggers people to hear these stories over and over and over again, you know, and we don't want to hear it all the time. You know, if you do have to call someone and vent, I mean, I love trying to help people if I can, but please get to the point, because we also have our own lives and we get triggered by what you're saying. So we all know the narcissist and their games. So I would say write down before you're going to call someone your points, what you want to get across and everything, because you don't want people to stop listening. All right, if you're wanting to call and have a prayer buddy or someone to just vent to, that's fine. But telling them all about what your ex has done to you, that's not going to work, because we all know the stories. We all know what the exes do, men or women. We all know. They all do it. It's just a different face. That's it. So get to your point and don't depend on everyone to do it. Figure out a way, go to a law library, or like I said, write down your points, call who you think might know, and just take notes, what they're giving you some information on, and go Google it if you have to. All right, that's what I had to do. I stayed a lot of days in the law library and Googled things, got the Black's Law Dictionary, and just started doing it myself. You can only be as bad as your worst lawyer. That's what I tell people. So you can do this yourself. You can only be as bad as your worst lawyer. Why spend the money if you don't have to? You can go in there and just talk like a normal person, go pro per, okay? All of us have been in court. Probably everyone saves their documents. They might have an example that you can use. Figure out what you need. Call the person. Do you have XYZ? All right. And then it actually makes you feel good if you stop depending on others and you're doing it yourself. You have a sense of accomplishment. It's making you feel better. So then you're not harassing your children going, I love you, please come back to me, right? So it's another positive if you're just depending on yourself. Okay, get a group of trusted friends, number 8. Get a group of trusted friends to vent to, or even a counselor. It's not a bad thing to have a counselor, to vent to. They're the ones that get paid to listen to you rant. They get paid to listen to you vent, okay? But again, with a counselor, I would do the same thing I just told you. I would have a list of what you want to say. And so you don't have to go back. They're writing notes, so they know that your ex is an a-hole. They know that your ex is withholding children or kidnapped them or whatever. They've already heard all that. So they can't even write progressive notes if you're not progressing. So give them something new that they can help you with. So when you go in there, have something new you want to work on. All right? Mine, I went to a counselor, and she started looking forward to me coming in because I was actually teaching her about parental alienation, which in turn is helping others that she's working with. So I started going and just paying $25 to go in there to educate her more on things that I was going through, or things that were positive, or things that didn't work, so she could relay that, without giving my information. But she had other patients going through this. All right, so keep notes. Number 9, be engaged. I might have said some of this before, but be engaged with your kids, even if you have no contact. All right, you contact the school. You ask about grades. You ask how they're doing in school. You ask if they're hanging around with the right people. If you can talk to them. If not, you ask the school staff. Are they hanging around with the right people? Or do they seem happy? Whatever. Trust me, your kids know that you are calling the school, because these school staff, they're no help to you. But they might relay, hey, your mom or your dad called to check on you. And they might act like they're angry at first, but they really probably want to know that you do care. All right? So I know some of you don't know or have your children's contact information. I was lucky enough I had 3 numbers out of 4. For a year, he told me 1 digit off, so for a year I was writing to random strangers. But I finally got them. And, I didn't always get messages back for a long, long time. But you keep it up, not in a harassing way, but you just be engaged. And I would ask them, how's your grades? Are you having fun with your friends? What events are you in? Because, like I said before, they're egocentric. So instead of saying, I miss you, please call me, oh my God, I can't make it without you, don't do that, because these kids, again, egocentric, they think it's all their fault. All right? And then, again, lastly, I'd say, trust me, your kids hear, from the school that you're reaching out. And it could be you could just send, if you don't want to talk or you're scared to call the school, whatever that may be, if your rights aren't terminated, you have every right in the world to send those children a card, a note, a postcard. Some kids like postcards with a picture. That's cheap, right? Send it to the school. And, and then the school staff actually can see what you wrote. They're going to read it. The narc has already told them you're a bad person, so a postcard might not be a bad idea. Just say, thinking about you, hope school's going good. I hope your team, is winning, whatever it may be. And then whatever they've been told by your ex is going to be proven wrong, right? Because you're actually the good parent and not this evil person that they've been told. Also, what I've done is I've sent little gifts, like, one big one was edible arrangements. My children love edible arrangements. It's kind of pricey, so send something like that. Or they have bouquets of candy bars, whatever. And, I've heard from several people saying, well, I'll get in trouble if I send a gift. Well, it's going to look pretty silly if you get sent to court and over sending a gift, and the judge, surely they're not that stupid and going to cause you problems because you sent your children candy. Unless your child's allergic to chocolate or something like that and you're sending something that would harm them. But a gift is not going to harm these children. They are still your children, and I say they are even if your rights are terminated, but that's just me. But you find out what school they're going to and you send a gift. That's it. Thinking about you. Hope you enjoy this. And you know what's the best part? These kids, again, are egocentric. They love getting these gifts, right? And if you send something they can share with their buddies, even better. Then their kids, the girls or whatever, are going, wow, your mom's cool or your dad's cool. Look, oh my gosh, I wish my mom or dad was that cool, right? And they love it. They love sharing stuff with their friends, and they love getting gifts. And don't worry if they're not thanking you, because they probably won't. Out of survival, they probably can't. All right? But there's no way children don't like getting gifts. There's no way that's possible. So I don't think for a minute they would throw that away. So if you think they're going to throw it away, don't start out extravagant. Just send something small, all right? Start with a postcard if you want and see what happens from there, All right, number 10, this is lastly. This is a big one besides number 1. Don't ever listen to others that tell you to quit fighting. Don't you ever listen to others to tell you to quit fighting, all right? Or stop listening to people that say wait until they're 18. They'll be back. That's not true. My twins are 18, yes, but I've got a 20-year-old and 22-year-old. They're not fully back. My 22-year-old I haven't heard from in almost 5 years. I've seen her once in 5 years at her graduation. So don't wait till they turn 18. That's the wrong thing you can do. That's the very last thing you should do in these cases like alienation. If your kid's rejecting you, don't wait, all right? If it's simple custodial, not simple, that's the wrong word, but custodial interference, where your child's still, they're not rejecting you, that might be a different story. But on alienation stories where your child is rejecting you, don't you wait. And don't listen to others that tell you to quit. You might want to quit that friendship, but we weren't married to normal people. Got to be honest with yourself. They might have acted normal in the beginning and did the love bombing. These aren't normal people that keep children from you. And so please don't stop. I never stopped, and I hope you don't stop either. And this is the result of not stopping right here. All right. That's the result you get for not stopping. Opening my eyes with the Bell's palsy there. That doesn't look like girls that are afraid of their mama. All right. So, there we go. That's my hero right there. So, anyway, you, for everyone, you just be a hero to your own kids. Don't you worry about what other people are doing. Your kids are all different. It might be different for you. That's just some suggestions for you, and I was just telling people, what worked for me. And to go down again, I'll list these one by one real quickly. 1, prayer. God, don't stop praying. Get prayer warriors whether you believe it or not. Okay? It cannot hurt. 2, walk it off. You think it's you're never going to see your kids again? You stop that thinking right now and don't put that out in the atmosphere, okay? You are going to see these children again. And whether you believe in Trump or not, he's already talking about human trafficking, child trafficking, and all that. This is coming, people. This is coming. He said in his debate, if you have children, you're going to see your children, and we have to believe that, all right? So please just do a walk it off. Quit talking about, you don't want to be here, you want to end your life. Please don't do that, because it could trigger someone else to do the same thing, and your kids need you. I personally was on the edge of the Grand Canyon, for those of you who don't know, and I was going to do it myself. But if I would have done it, I would have never, ever, ever had this moment. All right? So thank God for the guy that stopped me from doing that, because I wouldn't have had that moment, and it was greater than... I guess it was the second greatest thing since giving birth to these children, was to see them last week at that Fort Jackson field. All right, so you walk it off when you have those thoughts. 3, stop the court. If you can, stop the court and just say, I give up. I'm not giving up fighting, but I'm giving up paying for a lawyer's children's college, okay? And if you have to send a note to your kids, I'm giving up the court, but I'm still here for you. It's totally up to you. All right? This is, we're all different. So please don't do anything that you think could be wrong for your case. And I would not judge anyone that kept going. That's totally up for you, because I thought I had to keep going for years. If I'd have known what I know now, I would have stopped it probably 2 years ago. 4, stop blaming yourself. This isn't about you. If you're in an alienation case, you probably did nothing wrong and it was fabricated, okay? Or something you did was fabricated, like taking their phones. It's not abuse. Number 5, love on all of them. Messages, little moments, share them, little moments with them, pictures, maybe even of yourself, of what you've been up to. They actually like to hear that you're doing well. My kids love to hear that I went and got a job. They loved it. They asked me all about my job. This is unprecedented, people. They were asking me about my job because they didn't want to feel guilty anymore, because I was not working, because I was so down and grief-stricken. And so they do want you to, rise above. All right? So try to rise above as best as you can in any way, shape, or form, and prove that narcissist wrong, because these kids don't want to be the reason that you're in bed every day. All right? So that's another thing. Let them know you're not mad at them. Let them know you don't hate the ex, even if you do. All right? Let them know you're always there for them. 7, stop depending on others to fix it. Work on it yourself. Okay, work on yourself. Number 8, get a group of trusted friends, okay, to vent with. 9, be engaged. Like I said, gifts, school staff, get the grades, the postcard will be a good idea. And 10, don't listen to others to quit. Don't listen, all right? Listen to your heart and you keep going, because these are kids, all right? Everyone deserves to be in the life of their child. And so I'm praying for all of you that you have great outcomes like I did. And I'm praying mine continues. And I'll keep everyone up to date. But I really, really hope you have that awesome day where your kid comes through that smoke and stands up for themselves. And I know they will. I really believe it in my heart. They're going to have that moment, that aha moment, and you're going to see these kids. So from me to you, do not give up. All right? It's coming. I know it's coming. And it's a long journey, but it's really worth the wait at the end. Okay? And hopefully this is the end for mine, for at least 2 children. And I'm hoping, for great end to your journey very soon, and that you're reunited with your children. Thank you, and God bless.